India are the 8-time Asia Cup champions. Technically, if you look at it and the form the Indian cricket team showed, Rohit Sharma's side, they should actually be on top of the ICC rankings, isn't it? Well, they are not. India may be the Asia Cup champions, but the team that finished third in this entire race are the current ICC ODI #1 ranked team. I am talking about Pakistan. Now, how did a team that finished number 3 in the Asia Cup and despite losing 2 games in a big way to Sri Lanka and Pakistan continue to be on top of the ICC rankings? And why India, despite suffering only 1 loss and despite winning the title, why they are not on top of the ICC ODI rankings? So, before I come to the permutations and combinations, here is a look at the table. As you can see, 115 points, 115 points, 113 points. 3 teams separated by just 2 points. That's how fine the margins are in this ICC ODI rankings. You'll all be wondering why Pakistan still continue to be on top and why India couldn't get the top spot. You have to understand that prior to the Asia Cup, Pakistan actually had not been beaten in ODI for close to a couple of months because they had good shows against the members in that ICC ODI Super League. That was the reason that they managed to win on a consistent basis and get enough points to ensure they would not be knocked off. India, on the other hand, they also began their preparation and they also won consistently, but 1 loss ensured that they would be derailed. Look at the number of matches that India have played. Look at the number of games that Pakistan have played. Lesser and more wins, lesser number of games and more wins equals to more points. More you play, more you win. That's how the proportion is when it comes to the ICC. Now remember, in the Asia Cup, even Australia versus South Africa was also happening parallelly. England versus New Zealand, because of the number of wins and the number of losses that they had, England, New Zealand were not going to be in contention for the #1 spot. So, in September alone, you had 5 changes to the #1 spot. It was a proper musical chairs that happened because Pakistan actually became #1 on 3 separate occasions in the World Cup, in the Asia Cup. When they lost, when they beat, you may say Bangladesh, they became the #1. But Australia also had beaten South Africa 2-0. So that is why on 9th, they became the #1 ranked team. But Australia would lose the #1 ranking because they lost 3 consecutive games to South Africa. And Pakistan then reclaimed the #1 spot after 12th. But they were in danger of losing the #1 spot on the 15th. Why? Because of an India versus Bangladesh Super 4 encounters. So, Australia became #1 twice. When Pakistan lost to India by 228 runs, Australia became the #1 ranked side. But because Australia lost 2 consecutive games, Pakistan yet again became the #1. India could have dethroned them, but they missed the chance. How? India needed South Africa to beat Australia 3-2 and win all the games in the Asia Cup. This is the major caveat. Win all the games. South Africa did their job. They beat Australia 3-2 and ensured Australia would not be #1. But India's loss to Bangladesh meant that even if they had won the Asia Cup, Pakistan would hold on to the #1 ranking by decimals, just by decimals. And that loss to Bangladesh ensured India would not win, not get to the top spot. So, this is the main reason why Pakistan are on top of the ratings. India did not win all their games and because of that, the #1 spot was squandered. And Australia capitalized on Pakistan's losses. That is why they became #1 on 2 separate occasions. But Pakistan capitalized on Australia and India's misfortune and that's why they became the #1 ranked team. It didn't matter where they finished in the Asia Cup. The fact of the matter is India had to win all their games. Then they would have been the undisputed #1 at this time. But they can still become the #1 ranked team. How? India must beat Australia 2-1 or 3-0 in the upcoming series. That is the scoreline. 2-1, 2-0, 3-0 if one game gets washed out. 2-1, 3-0, 2-0. By that margin, if India beat Australia, then they are the number 1 ranked team. But if India lose 1-2, then Pakistan will continue to be on top. Because India have to win the series against Australia. That is the only way they can assure they get the number 1 ranking before the ODI World Cup begins. And remember, England are also playing a couple of ODIs against Ireland to warm up for the World Cup, and that is why they will not have much of an impact. But India, Pakistan and Australia, those 3 teams are scrambling for the number 1 spot. Even Australia are in it. If Australia beat India 3-0, they will go on top. And India will slip to 3rd, Pakistan will remain 2nd. So, it is very simple. India 2-1 or 3-1, they will become number 1. If India lose the series 1-2, then Pakistan become they will continue to remain the number 1 ranked team. If Australia win 3-0, India slip to 3rd, Australia become 1, Pakistan remain number 2. So, it's a very musical chairs or Russian roulette way that the number 1 ranking is in the ODI system at this point in time. Remember, Pakistan are actually paying the price. They are actually doing good because they had won earlier in the Asia Cup on a consistent basis. Then on the other hand, India just had that one loss to Bangladesh and they couldn't become the number 1. Australia could have sealed the number 1 ranking, but unfortunately they lost 3-2 to South Africa and their chances took a big hit. Number 1 ranking in ODIs in particular is a good thing to be. It doesn't ensure that your World Cup will become great, but a number 1 rank in the world out of 10 to 12 teams, it does give you significant confidence. Thank you so much folks for joining us for this live. We'll be back with more updates on sports today. Tap that bell icon so you know when we go live, and don't forget we're on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram as well. Thank you.